Elona? The Crystal Desert? Palawa Joko? If you have been playing the Path of Fire demo, or if you are from the future and have been playing the Path of Fire expansion, then it is very likely that you have a lot of questions right now. What is this area that we are going to? Who the hell is Palawa Joko and what is going on in this place? In this video we are pretty much going to go over the entire history of Elona and the Crystal Desert. So after watching this video you should pretty much know everything about this place that we are going to in the next expansion. This is the third episode of my video series Guild Wars Lore Recap. ArenaNet recently updated the map that we see in Guild Wars 2. First, here we see the map that we are all familiar with, but now the map extends a little bit further towards the southeast. We see that the Crystal Desert has changed from the previous map, but we also see a part of northern Elona. Elona is probably not that familiar to most Guild Wars 2 players because it is an entirely different continent that we haven't even seen on our map before. However, that is not even everything. The data miner Dat Shaman has discovered that the map extends even further towards the southeast. It turns out that we can pretty much see the entire continent of Elona down here. If you are watching this video, it is very likely that you have a rough idea of what the Crystal Desert is. It is basically that desert place on our map, right? But Elona has never really been shown in Guild Wars 2, and if you have not played Guild Wars 1, you might not be that familiar with this place. We previously visited Elona in the Nightfall campaign of Guild Wars 1, and Elona actually looked a little bit different back then because this part of the Dragon brand wasn't there. Now we are going to go over the history of this place. Okay, so the first thing that you will have to know is that approximately here there used to be a large sea known as the Crystal Sea, and for this you will have to excuse my terrible drawing skills. At the time, an ancient snake-like race known as the Forgotten used to hang around here. 200 years before the Exodus, or approximately 1530 years ago, humans first appear on the island of Istan and in the valley of Elona. They build a city known as Farinur and they have a king, the first of the Primeval kings. The kingdom of Elona is established. Approximately 25 years later, a group of seafaring humans known as the Marganites establishes settlements along the coast. They pretty much rule the entire ocean because they are super great at seafaring. The Marganites eventually learn about the legends of Ascension. Ascension is essentially becoming closer to the gods in some way. The Marganites know that to ascend, they have to perform some ritual in the Crystal Sea. The Marganites want to ascend, but they misinterpret the legends. They deconstruct some of their ships and begin to build enormous towers on the tiny islands in the Crystal Sea, thinking that they have to reach the heavens to speak to their gods directly. This lore is a little bit vague, but these structures can still be seen in the Crystal Desert in Guild Wars 1 and will likely also appear in Path of Fire. At some point afterwards, the Marganites decide that Abaddon, the god of water and secrets, is the best god, so they decide to only worship Abaddon. They go to the Temple of the Six Gods, which was located somewhere along the coast of the Crystal Sea, and defile the statues of the 5 other gods. The Forgotten and the Marganites go to war with one another at the Crystal Sea. Abaddon also really likes the Marganites, so he decides to turn them into demons. That may not sound like a good deal, but now the Marganites can live over 1,000 years. Abaddon and the other gods went to war with one another and eventually Abaddon was defeated. Abaddon was struck down in the center of the Crystal Sea, causing the Crystal Sea to turn into land, forming what is now known as the Crystal Desert and the Desolation. Abaddon and his followers were imprisoned in a dimension known as the Realm of Torment. The Forgotten, who had helped the gods win the war against Abaddon, watched over them from within this realm. Most of the Marganites were placed into this realm as well, so Marganite civilization collapsed, although some Marganites who were still human were still around. The place where Abaddon was struck down is known as the Mouth of Torment. Next to this place, a city known as Mora was founded to watch over this place and make sure that Abaddon would never escape. Abaddon and the Marganites were then mostly removed from history, so all of this lore is somewhat unreliable. It might very well be that once Path of Fire comes out, we find out that these things happen differently. Not long after this, the Primeval Kings begin to expand their rule into the northern regions of Elona, including the newly formed Desolation region. They also begin to bury their dead rulers in the Tomb of the Primeval Kings, which is way more up north in the Crystal Desert. Because hey, this land is new, so we should totally bury our dead rulers here. Everything seems to be going great, and after 300 years they even establish a colony all the way up north, Krita. It is also around this time that the seafaring pirates of Elona, known as the Corsairs, start to get more and more organized and start to form more and more of a threat. They have some code of honor, but make no mistake, they will definitely plunder your village. These guys will actually get quite important later on when we get to some of the more recent lore. The city of Mora, which was established to watch over the Mouth of Torment, has been abandoned by now, which doesn't really seem like a good idea. Krita is a colony of Elona for about 60 years. After this, it becomes independent. After the Primeval Kings had ruled for a total of 650 years, disaster struck. A horrific plague known as the Scarab Plague appeared in Faranur on Istan. The plague quickly spread to all of Istan and the rest of Elona. Istan got completely abandoned and an enormous part of the population of Elona died, including the royal family. This is the end of the Primeval Kings. Eventually, Elona becomes 3 separate provinces, Istan, Kona and Vabi. While these 3 provinces do not share a ruler, they are closely allied with one another. There was also a city in the Desolation known as Salaja, ruled by King Salajar. Now, an extremely important character appears. The undead lich Palawa Joko starts to raise an army of undead in the Desolation, using the large amount of available tombs. His undead are known as the Awakened. The Awakened aren't mindless, like for example the Risen, but are capable of speech and thought. They are all extremely loyal to Joko. Joko wipes out Salaja and builds a palace for himself, the Bone Palace, which we will very likely see in Path of Fire. After more than 100 years of preparation, Palawa Joko invades Elona with his undead army. He takes over most of Vabi, which led to him being called the Scourge of Vabi. Vabi was under his control for more than 2 years. It didn't take Joko long to conquer the rest of Elona. Only the Conan army was left, but they looked more like a struggling rebellion. Palawa Joko's conquest ended when his army clashed with the army of the legendary Conan general Turai Ossa at the Battle of Jahai. Ossa located Palawa Joko overlooking the battle from above and defeated him in one-on-one combat. However, Palawa Joko couldn't be slain. Turai Ossa sealed Joko away in a tomb, after which the Order of Whispers made sure he couldn't escape. Turai then became the king of all Elona, reunifying Elona behind a single ruler for the first time in centuries. As king, he became intrigued by the legends of Ascension, which the Marganites had previously attempted, and eventually decided to seek out Ascension himself. He left Elona with his followers and started traveling towards the Crystal Desert through the Desolation. They established a city in the Desolation and a colony in the Crystal Desert. It is suspected that the city is called Lanner and the colony is called Elonia, but we are not entirely sure of this. This ascension attempt is known as the Great Pilgrimage. In the Crystal Desert, the Elonians encountered the Forgotten and assumed that they were simply beasts that should be slain. The Elonians slaughtered Forgotten and the Forgotten retaliated by slaughtering Elonians. The Elonians attempted to ascend by constructing a large temple and a vision crystal. They were on the right track, but unfortunately, the Elonians began to distrust one another and became divided. Internal fighting and the war with the Forgotten eventually led to the demise of these Elonians. They never ascended. The Great Pilgrimage was a huge disaster. Turai's soul remained trapped in the Crystal Desert, guiding future visitors who attempted to ascend. Many years later, he actually helped our player characters in Guild Wars 1 perform our ascension ritual successfully. While Turai was gone, Elona turned back into 3 provinces. In the north was the province of Vabi, ruled by rich merchants and known for its wealth and beauty. South of Vabi was Korna, which was ruled by the descendants of Turai. Korna had a huge military and seemed to always be ready for a war. The island of Istan was where Elonian civilization had originated. Istan had a huge corsair problem and had a powerful navy. These 3 provinces did not share a ruler or an army, but there was an elite group of warriors known as the Sunspears that had been around since the time of the Primeval Kings. The Sunspears swore to defend all of Elona against any threats. The events of Guild Wars Nightfall take place approximately 200 years after the provinces had become separated again, and about 250 years before Guild Wars 2. The descendant of Turai Ossa and ruler of Korna, Varish Ossa, has become fascinated with the imprisoned god Abaddon. That's right, that is the imprisoned god that we talked about way at the start of this video. The Sunspears discover that she is planning to perform a ritual that would set Abaddon free and cause the world to transform into a dark, sinister place similar to the realm of torment, Nightfall. The Sunspears in the province of Istan go to war against Korna. They assault Gandhara, a giant fortress located at the coast of Korna. Unfortunately, it is a trap. Powerful demons summoned by Varish overwhelm the Sunspears and the Istani. Many of them are captured, including the leader or spear marshal of the Sunspears, Cormyr. Cormyr is blinded by a confrontation with a demon. The Sunspears establish a hidden base in Korna and use this to tactically fight against the Kornans. Varish, however, manages to summon the demonic Marganites to join her army. Eventually, the Sunspears find passage to Vabi, hoping to gain Vabi's help in fighting the Kornans. The three rulers, or princes, of Vabi initially do not believe the Sunspears, but after Varish attempts to assassinate one of them, they realize that the Kornans are hostile. One of the princes makes a stand and achieves a surprising victory in a battle against the Kornans, while the other two princes decide to hide in the hidden city of Adashim. This hidden city was the place where the rulers of Vabi hid during the reign of Palawa Joko. Eventually, they come out of hiding to join the other prince in the fight against Varish. Varish attacks Sebelke Basilica, a great floating temple in the center of Vabi. She kills the priests and summons powerful demons from the realm of torment. The locks of Abaddon's prison become weaker and weaker. The beautiful garden of Saborin, which is also located in Vabi, is overrun by demons and Cormyr is sucked into the realm of torment. Varish's next goal is to reach the mouth of torment in the Desolation, where she wants to complete the ritual to free Abaddon and unleash Nightfall. The weakening of reality caused by the ritual also leads to Palawa Joko, the lich from earlier, being freed. Free from his prison, he sets out to journey into the Desolation. The Sunspears make use of the opportunity and learn from Joko how to cross the Desolation using giant Junundu worms. The Sunspears reach Mora and the Mouth of Torment and manage to kill Varish just before she completes the ritual. However, the Realm of Torment begins to spread its influence all over Elona as Abaddon's locks are weakening. The Sunspears go through the vortex in the Mouth of Torment and reach the Realm of Torment itself. They journey through this realm and reunite with Cormyr. With the blessing of the five gods, the Sunspears manage to slay Abaddon himself. Cormyr was chosen by the gods to consume Abaddon's power. She replaces Abaddon and becomes the new sixth god. This great victory meant that Elona was finally at peace again, but unfortunately, this did not last very long. Earlier, Palawa Joko had been freed from his prison. Joko rebuilt his army in the Desolation, and within less than 60 years he invaded Vabi once again. This time he used a smart new strategy. He dammed and diverted the river Elona. This created a lush region in the Crystal Desert, which Path of Fire NPCs actually refer to as the Elona Riverlands. But that wasn't the goal. By diverting the river, he caused a horrible drought and famine in Vabi and northern Korna. The people rebelled and Joko exploited this to easily conquer Vabi. He was now King Joko. Korna and Istan became vassal states. We recently learned in the Path of Fire demo that Joko's kingdom is known as the United Kingdom of Elona. Joko mostly wiped out the Sunspears, who had proven to give him great trouble during his conquest. Some of the Sunspears chose to pledge loyalty to Joko. They were tasked to hunt down the other Sunspears and became known as the Mordant Crescent. Joko also sought revenge against Turai Ossa, who had defeated and imprisoned him many years ago. He hunted down his descendants and used them to form a new, living second army. We also learned some other things from the Path of Fire demo. The first map that we visit in Path of Fire is the Crystal Oasis map. In this map there is a large settlement, the Free City of Amnoon. Apparently this city was founded by Corsairs, the pirate guys that I talked about like 10 minutes ago. They convinced the nomads who lived around the highlands to settle in this city. Around the city, we see a bunch of pyramids. This initially confused a lot of players who had played GW1, because we had never seen any pyramids in the Crystal Desert. It turns out that these pyramids aren't all that ancient. They were built by the first settlers of modern Amnoon, so they simply hadn't been built back then. One of the original founders of Amnoon is buried in one of these pyramids, but his name has been forgotten. But Silverdisk, what about the one huge elephant in the room? I am not going to explain you the entire history of the Dragon Brand in this video, because you probably already know about the Dragon Brand and this video is way too long already, but I will give you a short version. Very shortly before the events of Guild Wars 2, the Elder Dragon Quelquetoric flew towards the tomb of the Primeval Kings. Glint had hidden her secret lair somewhere around here, and Quelquetoric was determined to destroy her. In doing so, he created a large brand of corruption that extends over Ascalon and the Crystal Desert, the Dragon Brand. On the new Path of Fire map, it seems that the Dragon Brand now extends all the way to Vabi. Until Path of Fire comes out, we can only speculate about this. Wow, you just watched the entire video! That is legitimately impressive. You should now have an idea of the entire history of Elona and the Crystal Desert. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. It has been a long time since my last lore video, and for the ones of you that were waiting for a new one, I hope that the wait has been worth it. I am personally incredibly hyped for the lore of Path of Fire. What happened to Vabi and what is Joko's kingdom like? Have I mentioned that we can see the Garden of Saborin on the map? This is crazy, I'm super hyped. If you want to see more lore videos, you should totally subscribe to my channel. Feedback is, as always, very welcome in the comments. Also, if you are here for my other videos, you might be happy to know that I am totally working on a new terrible raid video and something else. Thank you so much for watching. This was Silverdisk and I will see you in the next video.